You are listening to the Book Perspective Podcast, a podcast for all types of books. And even though we read all types of books across all different types of genres, we want to give a disclaimer. Many of our books and a lot of our content sometimes is intended for mature audiences. And we don't believe in censorship, but we do want our listeners to have the opportunity to decide if our episode or podcast is good for them. So, with that, let's get into the episode. I'm just going to preface here that some of Keely's audio in the beginning was a little messed up, but then we do get it together. So just bear with us. Hey, it's Dominique, and you're listening to Book Perspective, and we have a special guest today. We have Miss Hannah V Sawyerr. Hello.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm so excited.
We're so excited to have you. Keely, do you want to give a little about the book before we start with even the spoiler-free questions, and then kind of introduce her? Perfect then. Okay, cool.
Hi. Okay, I feel like this is actually like the biggest, simplest question ever because I'm like, actually, who am I? I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an author, I'm a poet, a young adult novelist, and I am the author of All the Fighting Parts. That was my debut novel, and my forthcoming novel, Truth is out in 3 weeks. I can't believe that. From today, from when we're recording it, it's out in 3 weeks, and I'm only panicking like a little bit, like this much.
It's gonna be great. Don't panic. So tell us a little bit about Truth is, like your elevator pitch, if you would.
Yeah, so Truth is, I actually recently got hardcover copies. Isn't she pretty? The cover artist and the designer, the cover artist Rachel Baker and the designer Micah Fleming, they did so amazing. Truth is, I call it my mommy issues book. It's about, I tried to propose it under the title Mommy Issues, and I was very nicely told no. But it's about 17-year-old Truth Bangura who learns she's pregnant by her ex-boyfriend and makes the decision to have an abortion. And she's a slam poet, and she performs a poem about that decision, and that poem is secretly recorded and posted online for everyone to see, including the mother, who she never told about the pregnancy or the abortion. It's about standing in your truth. It's a book about choice and agency. And I just love that I have a slam protagonist because I was a slam kid myself. And so I was like really, really happy and thrilled to be able to write a book from a girl who shared a similar experience as me as a slam kid.
So speaking of being a slam kid, can you tell us a bit about being a slam kid and like your poetry background and all that?
Yeah, so I'm a Brave New Voices kid, Brave New Voices alum. That's a national slam competition. Some folks listening to this might have heard of it, or it might be new to you. But essentially, it's a bunch of teams throughout the country, and I think there are some international teams as well. And they compete within their states or cities, and their youth slam teams come and they represent their city. And they compete for the national title. I actually went this year, not as a participant, obviously, because I'm not a youth anymore. But I went to support the Baltimore City Youth Poetry Team, and they did really well. They made final stage. I'm biased, but they really are like amazing and great. Yeah, and I feel like I was really fortunate to be able to find slam as an outlet. And just performing in general. Like I started out actually with like oratory competitions and things like that. And for me, I feel like slam really helped me understand that I'm just not alone in this world, and there are so many people who experience things that are similar to me or who have like big and complicated feelings. Because I think when you're a young person, sometimes you just feel like your feelings are so big and so complicated and no one understands them. And I would go to these poetry slams, and I would hear these stories of, from people who may not even have like the same exact story of mine, but I'm like, oh, you feel things just like I feel things. Like it's not weird. If anyone's familiar with the Enneagram, I'm an Enneagram 4 and I'm talking like an Enneagram 4. Do y'all know the Enneagram? Yeah, the Enneagram 4 like is very much so like big feelings, feeling like no one understands you. Wah, wah, wah. And I'm an Enneagram 4, which makes sense for a slam kid, but it was just such a beautiful experience and outlet for me as a young person, and I think Truth has a similar experience with slam.
I love that. Yeah, I dabbled a little bit in slam poetry and I love it. I feel for it. So, like, when I found out, what Truth is about, I was like, oh my gosh, can't wait. So,
Yeah, you told
love
me
it.
that you were a slam kid, and I was super, super excited that you got to read it early, because I wrote it for us, for real.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, yeah. If you could describe, so this is a question that Dom and I do with all of the books, and we all the time struggle with it, even when we are prepared. So I wanted to make sure that you definitely got this question ahead of time. But if you could describe your book in only one word, what would that be?
I love this question, and it's actually a question that I've thought about before. I'm gonna say funky, because it's a good word, right?
Yep.
I'm gonna say funky because of all the mixed media. All the Fighting Hearts, my first book, had a lot of mixed media elements, but this one I feel like I kind of kicked it up a notch with like the and this is not a spoiler, but I'll say it has like report cards, for example, multiple choice quizzes. There's a script in there. Like, I just feel like I really played around a lot, and even like with her journal. This is actually true for the final copy and not the early copies, because we were still cooking, right, with the early copies. But in the journal entries in the final copy, you can see Truth kind of like crossing out words and finding stronger words, and like putting arrows for like, stanzas that she wants to add in poems, and you see her revising on the page, which was really, really cool. It was a mess to go back and forth for past pages, for example, because you have to work with PDFs. And so I had to like leave directions on the PDF, like, please move this up an inch and make the arrow point to this word, and like describe it rather than actually being able to like write on it, or, mess with it with like a pen, like a digital pen. I actually had to type that stuff out. So I'm going to go with funky for this one.
I think that is a great word. Great word.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's hard. Sometimes I have a good word, and sometimes I'm like, this is basic, but it's hard to pick a word. No, that's really good. I like that. What inspired you to write this story outside of, you kind of talked about the poetry part, but what about the rest of the story? Where did your inspiration come from?
So when I first started writing this book, I attended a conference on James Baldwin, and there was a woman on the panel, and this was like maybe a month in. I knew I wanted to write a pro-choice book. I knew I wanted to write a book about a girl who really, really wanted to escape her circumstances. But there was a woman on the panel, and she said these words, and I will never forget them. She said, I would not be able to escape sugar honey iced tea if I didn't love myself. And I say sugar honey iced tea because I'm trying not to cuss on like anything related to like youth content anymore. Or I'm trying to do a little better, on the page. I can't speak for what I do on the page, right? The page is the page, but out of my mouth, right? I'm trying to be a little more clean. But she said she wouldn't be able to escape anything if she didn't love herself. And that stuck with me. And I think that kind of like changed the course of the book, because I knew I wanted to write a book about a girl who really wanted to escape her circumstances and who loved herself enough to escape her circumstances. And I think that comes through even with her choice to have the abortion. But I think after hearing those words, this book became a lot more about a girl who didn't hate her circumstances, but loved herself enough to escape them, or to try her best to like see beyond them. And then while I was writing, it was maybe like a month or two into writing, Roe v. Wade was overturned. And I think that really affected this book, because in the beginning, I went back and forth. I had two different versions of this book when I was proposing it. I had one outline that started after the abortion. So the book was really going to take place. You would know she was a slam kid and she's processing these feelings, but you didn't see her make that decision on the page. And then there was another outline that kind of took it back a couple months and included that. And I just remember at the time there were a lot of conversations about book banning and things like that. And I almost made the decision to make this story take place after the abortion, and I almost like played it very safe. But I had a friend, a couple people who were like, no, I think that would be a really bad decision. And I think it would be really important for this decision to be made on the page. And I'm really, really grateful for that. I think it's scary writing books about tough topics, and like sometimes you find yourself like wanting to cater because you're like, no, please don't ban me or soft ban me or like not let your kids read my work. And that still is very scary, but it just would not have been a story that I think would be true to truth or to me, because I don't want to play it safe either.
Were there any particular scenes or characters that you found more difficult to write?
Oh my goodness. The best friend, Zariah, who is not a really great friend, she was really hard. You're shaking your head, I know. She was hard. She got on my nerves. And it was just, I remember even with my editor, I was like, I don't know, like maybe I should make Zariah like a little less harsh. And she was like, no, you don't have to write all great characters. Like they don't always have to be good. Zariah was really hard. Just because I don't think she treats Truth very fairly. I also think that Truth is still kind of learning to speak up for herself, right? And you see that with her like holding back a little bit and not really knowing how to like say if something hurt her or what's on her mind. So I think it's a growing experience for them both, but it was so hard to write 2 scenes in particular with Zariah when she just was not being a great friend. Her mom, of course, was very hard, very, very hard. And I got a lot of notes from my editor when we were going back and forth, and she was just kind of pushing me like, I think in the beginning, it was really hard for me to write a mother that was emotionally abusive in the way that Truth's mom is. And that was just very, very hard for me. And my editor just kept pushing me and like, it's okay. Like, that was really, really hard as well. It was also hard to make her human too, and not just like completely callous, because I think it's easy to do one or the other, right? Like, I wish Truth's mom was a better mom to Truth, but at the same time, you get to learn her as a human, and you may not agree with everything she does. I don't agree with 95% of what she does as the author, but you get to kind of like know her heart and know that she's not just an evil person. She's been through some really real things that make her do some really bad things. Another character that was really hard to write, I'm trying to think. No, the dad. Just because I was like, I know this is like spoiler free right now, but it was hard for me to write the dad, and I'll leave it at that.
So if you want to read
it's fine. I was like, she's freestyling. It's good. So what is it that you're wanting readers to take away from this book and from Truth?
So I'll start with, I know I have a decent amount of adult readers, and I want adults who read Truth to think of the limitations that we can kind of unknowingly put on young people. I think Truth is very much someone who she was able to thrive when people were able to take chances on her. And I was that type of young person. And I know a lot of young people who would not be able to make it through their circumstances, or maybe would be able to make it through their circumstances if they had adults who were willing to love on them and take chances on them. And not in a way, and not underestimate them either. I want kids to know, teenagers who read my book to know, because ultimately it is for teenagers, right? I think I have a decent amount of adult readers, but like I am a YA writer who writes for young people. I want young people who read my books to know that they're allowed to dream big. I want them to know that they are not their circumstances, and they are allowed to make choice, and that they have choices, right? I say that Truth is a pro-choice book in every sense of the word, because even like with the multiple choice quizzes and like the choices that Truth now has, towards the end of the book, trying to keep it spoiler free. But I want them to know that they have choices, and that everything that they're presented with doesn't need to be the end all be all. Like, they're allowed to want better for themselves and strive for better and be better. So
I do too. I will say that, so I'm a mom, and like the relationship with my oldest daughter is from a different relationship. So like the relationship with her dad, like the whole, like I was thinking, like looking at it, like I don't feel like I'm emotionally abusive, but like that, like he said versus she said kind of thing that's going on in the book. And like, I'm like, that made me reflect too. Like, have I put my daughter in those situations? And like, so it is like that message is transcending to the audience, because I was definitely thinking that.
It's hard. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, Truth is a novel in verse, which in and of itself makes it uniquely written. But like we mentioned, you've included some more unique elements, like it being broken up into trimesters rather than parts, and having the multiple choice quizzes and stuff. Can you tell us more about those creative liberties you've taken and why you decided to include them?
Honestly, I was having fun. I truly, really was having fun. Truth is my second book and the first book that I had to write on deadline. Because with your first book, traditionally, not always, but like you have to query, right? And if you have to query, if it's your first book, you have to write the whole book. And so I had to revise on deadline, but I didn't have to write the whole book on deadline. And Truth is was the first book where I got to do that. And I feel like I didn't have time to be paranoid or in my head. And so even the trimester thing, I think that came pretty early on. And I was like, 3 parts, what about 3 trimesters? Right? Like just these like really fun things. And like even the aspect of having 9 multiple choice quizzes, right? 9-ish months in a pregnancy. I know technically like it's closer to 10, right? I actually didn't know that. My friend was like, Hannah, it's closer to 10 months. And I was like, all right. Well, for the purpose of Truth is, it's going to be 9 months. But also it was kind of cool to do that because I think it kind of shows like her life kind of moves on, right? Like it goes on. Even in, oh no, I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say that for the spoiler portion. But to see her life kind of move on and continue, right? Even after she makes the decision on the page to have the abortion, it's like, okay, then trimester 2 starts. And it's like, what's happening in this aspect of her life, even though she's not, still pregnant, like her life, there's still conflict, there's still like drama, right? And I think honestly, as someone who really was a reluctant reader, like I did not like reading like that growing up. Let me say after like elementary school and middle school, I didn't like reading like that. But you could always get me to read a poetry collection, and you could always get me to read like things that had like mixed media and things like that. And so I think that's just very true to like what I like. And plus I don't like to be bored when I'm writing or when I'm reading. So I think I always incorporate some sort of mixed media because it just makes me feel more involved in the book.
Yeah, I think it was really fun seeing just all those little again, unique, fun aspects that you've included into it. I was like, oh, this is fun.
Thank you.
Get Truth a little better as well.
I think like, and I think y'all know this, like they think books a lot of the times get put in like commercial or literary categories, right? And I think for the most part, my book kind of gets pushed, and I think this is true for most verse novels, you get pushed in like the literary YA category, but I'm like, dang it, I'm fun, okay? Like my books are funky, okay? They're fun. Yeah.
No, I think it's fun too, because my daughter looked at that. I read Keely's hard copy version too, and so my daughter's like, she was like, why? She was like, is this poetry? She was like, what are you reading? And I'm like, no. Like, I was like, it's written like that, but it's a story. And she was like, well, why are there like chapter heading? Like, she was like, I'm like, why don't you read it? I don't know. Stop asking questions. No, that's fun. So, switching gears just a little bit, what would you say is a recent 5-star read that you've had personally, so separate from your own book, or what is considered a 5-star read for you? So what checks that box?
For my most recent 5-star read, I want to shout out, and I read this book and I blurbed it So it wasn't, but I'm actually rereading it. And by the time this comes out, it'll be like known. I'm moderating a panel that she's on. So I'm rereading it for the panel. But Under the Neon Lights by Ariel Vincent. It's a novel in verse about themes of gentrification, first loves. It has like this like really beautiful romance plot. The writing was exquisite, and I'm gonna say that was my 5-star read. And honestly, a 5-star read for me makes me feel things, right? I love lyrical writing. I know a book to me is good when I have to read it out loud. And I even find that that's for me when I'm editing, like I have to edit out loud, like I have to read the text out loud, to see if it like sounds right, if it feels like rhythmic to me. So when I'm reading a book and I come across a line and I have to read it out loud, like I have to hear what it sounds like out of my mouth, that's when I'm like, okay, this is about to hit. And when it makes me feel things. If it can do those two things, that's a 5-star read for me.
Well, I'll tell you a bit about my 5-star, and pretty much Dom's too, but our 5-star. So it's a bit of an inside joke, and I will tell you the story, but I really just, it's based off of vibes 100% for me. If the vibes are vibing and it just makes me feel something, then it's a 5-star read. But I was chatting with my mom one day. We were, I don't even know how we got on the topic of it, which my mom and I read all the time. But anyways, so we were chatting and I'm like, yeah, I rate the books based off of vibes. I'm just a vibrator. And she's like, you're a what? And I was like, I'm a vibrator. And I'm like, sounds a little different. So yeah.
That took that. No. When I got it. No. I'm gonna start telling people that.
I told book club. Book club had a little laugh. We made shirts.
Like that. That's funny.
All right, so we have concluded the spoiler-free portion of this interview. So most likely you haven't read this book yet, but if you don't mind being spoiled, then you can stick around. But if not, you can come back later and listen. But we're going to ask some more juicy questions and get into some spoilers about Truth Is. So, Keely, you're up.
Yes. So I only have like 2 questions that I pre-wrote, and then I have like some notes just that I want to bring up. I think that this is more going to be like a, I guess, goss section, session. So you've crafted, and we kind of discussed this. You kind of discussed this a bit, but you crafted such a complex character in Truth's mom for the entirety of the book. I was infuriated with the way she treated Truth. But at the end, I really kind of started to feel for her. Does not take away, the way that she treated Truth and all that. But I saw the human aspects of her, that she was flawed. She's human. Was that something that you set out to do? The humanizing her more. Was that more so a surprise development?
Yeah. That was something that I really meant to do. It was hard to do. But, first of all, let me just say, I love this format of like the spoiler-free version and then the spoilery version, because I feel like I always have to hold back. But anyway, I just wanted to shout y'all out for that, because I feel like I love this format so much. But it was a little difficult to humanize her. It was really, really difficult, actually. And this was a note from my editor, to make sure that Truth isn't just like, their relationship isn't just immediately fixed, right? Or that, for example, she doesn't continue to fall in line with her mom's wishes for her. I think their relationship at the end of the book is mended to an extent, right? Like, there's still things that Truth really wants to keep for herself. But it was really hard for me not to be like, oh, they're all better now. Yeah. Like that was really, really hard for me to do. And my, you know, even like, okay, I can spoil. So like, for example, you know, we have this really sweet and tender moment with Truth and her mom is like, you know, basically write what you want to write, like write what's true to you.
Yeah.
And then she was like, but you don't need to leave here you don't need to go to college to study, like you don't need to leave here to study writing. Like you could still be here. Like you could still kind of be under my wing. Like, what are you talking about? Like, where are you going? Like, I don't care that you got into college. Like, you know, and that was hard. But I'm really, really happy that I had an editor who kind of pushed me and be like, no, like they can't be perfect. Like she can't just automatically see the things that Truth wants for herself. Like she still kind of has to want to have her grasp and be like kind of codependent with Truth.
Yeah, and I really appreciated that. I really like that because I was like, I really hope that it doesn't end up on like them on like the best of terms, but you can kind of still see that she wants that validation from her mom, and but she also wants her freedom and her right to choose what she wants for her life. Absolutely. So yeah, no, I really like that.
Yay! I'm so glad that landed. I also didn't want to excuse her mother's behavior either, so I hope it didn't come off like that.
No,
I don't think so.
Good, good.
I'm jumping. I know there's a question, but actually this triggered another question because, okay, I kind of want to talk about the ending because we were talking about that. So like, I was scared at the ending because like, because I'm a fool. No, because I like was like, okay, is she going to go to college or is she going to go on this thing? And like me, like I'm a hopeless romantic. Like I'm like, see, I would have picked the college, but I was torn because I was like, you know, it wasn't just about the boy. Like it was like, she got into school and she didn't think she was going to. I wish we could like remove the boy because I'd have been like, go. But then I was so happy that she went on the like once in a lifetime tour thing. So how did you ever think like you were going to choose the school and not the tour or no? Okay. I love that. I was so proud of her. I was so proud because I'm a fool and I'd be like, I'm going to go to the school. But
in my head, so actually, and this was another, I love being able to talk about these things, but so my editor, she proposed an option. She was like, what if Truth defers for a year and then, you know, takes this like year-long like traveling fellowship, poetry fellowship. But we looked into it and you can't defer a conditional acceptance. And so I was kind of like, she either got to take this offer or, you know, she got to reapply next year. And in my head, she does apply next year. In my head, she takes the year-long opportunity and then applies and goes to college with her little thing. So, yeah.
I love that. Okay, I was supposed to ask you. So outside of Truth, who was one of your favorite characters to write?
I always love writing my characters' love interests. Honestly, I'm not gonna lie. I feel like the love interests, at least in my work, they're accessories to my main character. Like they're there to be nice to them and to be sweet to them. Like that's what they're there for. Like and I feel like Michael does his job. He's very sweet to her, very encouraging, like you know, he was nice to write. Adara was really nice to write as well. Because, so actually in the very first draft, Zariah was a more supportive friend and Adara kind of was like the friend that was not that great. And I swapped that because in my head, I was like, it would cut a lot deeper if being like unsupportive came from this friend that you've known for years and years. And so I did kind of keep in the beginning where you see Adara and you're like, what is up with her? Like, why does she act like that? But then you get to see like that turning point in them, like, you know, really getting to understand each other. And it's like, oh, that's just Adara being Adara. Like, she loves people. She's just a little prickly. Right?
Yeah, well, going on to the Zariah thing, I was devastated by that betrayal to Truth.
Yeah.
As someone who is still best friends with my childhood best friends, I could not imagine that, you know, any kind of situation like that with my friend. So you hit me in my feels. But I think that kind of goes on to how well you wrote the characters and the book, because I was like near tears when I was reading that, and I was so angry. So claps to you.
Thank you. And you know what's so funny? Like, Zariah was a character that I was like, I need to make sure I don't want her to be evil either.
Yeah.
Right? Like, even like that last interaction at the end, like, if you, and someone actually asked me this, and they were like, do you think Zariah and Truth are friends in the future? No. But I don't think they hate each other.
Right.
I don't think they hate each other either, but they're not friends, no. That's not a thing. Maybe like it's one of those things where it's like a few years in the future they sit down and they have coffee and they like, you know, they realize like you were such an important part of my life, I was such an important part of your life, but we're not going to be hitting each other up every day. Like,
yeah,
you know, if I see you at the function, you see me at the function, we say what's up, we keep it moving, you know. But that's about it.
Yeah, and I think that's important too, because I mean, though you can get past your issues, it's never going to be like it was again. And that's something that, you know, I harp on my younger siblings, that, you know, if somebody shows their true colors to you and betrays you, that's not a relationship that's safe for you to be in emotionally. So.
Yeah. I also like to think that Zariah is apologetic and she genuinely does know where she went wrong, but at the same time, Truth just experienced so much growth in that year. I don't think she's looking back.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about the dad, because I was like, I was not expecting that. Like, I was kind of like at first I was like, okay, like there's probably a reason. Then I was like, dang, like the mom is keeping him away. Like, and I've seen that. So I was like, okay. And then like the birthday came and I was like, oh.
Yeah. That was a tough one too. I actually went back and forth, and I actually had a whole phone call with my editor, because that's the direction I wanted to take it in from the very beginning. But I was like, do you think that's going to be too jarring for the reader? Like, and then another part of me, like my first book was a Me Too novel, and I'm like, you think people are just going to think like, oh, Hannah only writes abusive men? Like, but she was like, no, I think like, one, I think if a child doesn't have their dad in their life, they may genuinely not know how old their dad is until they're a little older. But two, it happens so much more often than people like to admit. But that was one part of the plot where I was like, I want this to land, and I really hope it's not too much. And I hope it wasn't too much, and I hope it wasn't too jarring. But I don't know, it felt right for like her mom's arc, if anything.
I don't think it was too much. Yeah, I was like I never thought that she didn't know how old her dad was. Like that was never even, which again, I'm a vibe reader too, so like I don't be analytically all in the line. So I can know stuff. But I just never thought I was like, oh, it's his birthday. Like I'm never questioning that she's questioning how old her dad is or anything.
Yeah, and what makes it so sick is like her dad like never even like, I think there's I think I swear I know my work, but there's like a time where he reaches out like, oh, we can talk, but like he's not really apologetic. It doesn't give like, I'm apologetic, or I think anything that happened there was wrong. I think knowing that it genuinely does not excuse Truth's mom's treatment of her, but it does make her, not her actions, but her character a little bit not justified, but understandable.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to talk about that too. So I'm glad you brought it up, because I related to Truth in the strained relationship with her father. Not, my mother's a superwoman, like love my mom to pieces. So not in the mom aspect, but definitely in the strained relationship with the dad, and kind of, I don't know, it was a gut punch. It really hit me. Everything, especially in the beginning, when, the things were brought up about her dad. But it was when she found out how old he was, I was like, that's kind of like when I grew up and realized, you know, some of the things that happened in the relationship with my mom and my dad, and just like all of that stuff, kind of the awakening to, you know, what was really happening. Yeah, no, I felt that. I was like, oof.
Yeah. And I think for a long time, it's so funny, not funny, haha. But like Truth, in the beginning, she kind of idolizes her dad. She's like, even though my dad is not in my life, I admire him because he escaped my mom and I hate her. Like, you know, and so it does kind of like hit when she's like, oh, like there's a reason my mom hates my dad, right? Like there's a reason that she doesn't want me around him. Because of how difficult to see someone, and this is a spoiler aspect, so I'll just say it, like, in the book, when Truth learns how old her dad is, she learns that her dad she does the math, and she basically learns that her dad was a full-grown man. I can't even do the math right now, but I think they started dating when her mom was 15 and her dad was like in his
I think it was 10 years. So yeah, I think it was like he's 10 years older than the mom.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, and she's like doing the math, and she was like, well, my parents dated for like a couple of years before they were pregnant with me, and my mom was pregnant with me when she was 17, and like, you know what I mean? And so she's kind of realizing like, oh, like this is why my mom does not want me around him. Like even like when Truth and her mom get into that big blow up, like that is the first time that, you know, the dad reaches out to the mom and is like, well, you guys are, you know, fighting, like let her stay with me. That is the first time that her mom allows her to even spend the night with her dad, right? Because I don't think, I know I'm saying I don't think, like I didn't write the book, like I don't, Truth's mom doesn't think that her dad will harm Truth in the same way, right? Like she knows that her dad will not harm Truth in the same way. It's so hard to separate like that type of abuse, especially in retrospect, when you're a young person, you're looking back and you're like, that should have never happened. You're a weirdo, to put it lightly. Like, so.
Yeah, no, that part I was like, woo.
Yeah,
I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
I was like the dad, because I was like, oh, like he stood up for her against the stepmom, because I was ready to jump on her, like, whoa, lady. But yeah, but I was like, it was like I was like trying to hold it together, like no, like don't figure out the math, like no, it was going good, and then no.
I'm so happy to be talking about this because I'm like, I finished it in like a day or two, and I was like, oh, Mom, and she's like, don't say anything because I want to read it, and I'm like, I need to talk to somebody.
Well, you can talk to me about it now.
I do have a question. So, how did you decide to name Truth?
Oh, that came kind of naturally. It never changed. I was like, oh, she's a poet. She needs to speak. And then again, I will say, people complain all the time. Like you hear writers talking all the time about how like the second book sucks. Like the second book is just so much pressure. Like it's your first time writing on deadline. And I think all of that is true, but like I love not having to overthink. Like so like I was just like, oh, poet, speak your truth. Her name is Truth. Like it just made sense and it just stuck. So
Are you more of a pantser or a plotter?
I'm a plotter. That I am. I might deviate from the plot, but I'm a plotter. And when I say I'm a plotter, I know there are some plotters that have like 30-page outlines. When I say I'm a plotter, I mean I have like a 6-page outline, and maybe like a scene breakdown that I may or may not deviate from.
And are you like work better under pressure, or?
It depends on how much pressure, honestly, because I think with me, I'm definitely the type, if I'm feeling too much pressure, I will neglect everything and go to sleep. But I am pretty good with deadlines. And for a writer, I'll say that, because I feel like I always make a deadline plus like 2-3 extra days. Which, to be honest, when I talk to my writer friends, it's pretty good. only taking 2-3 extra days. I'm like, oh, I'm on point. Like, I'm on time.
Do you still work like other jobs, or is this your full-time job?
No, I work full time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean that's a very recent development though.
Oh, well,
I was teaching before that.
okay, because we've kind of asked before, like, do you have like a writing ritual? Like, do you lock yourself in the room at night or turn the lights off low or whatever?
I like writing in coffee shops.
Hmm.
So if I'm on deadline, a typical day for me, I'll wake up at maybe 8 a.m. and I will write. I'll go to a coffee shop and I'll write from 9 to maybe 1 or 2, or revise or whatever, and then I'll take a break until maybe like 6 or 7, and then I'll go to a different coffee shop or cafe and write from. When I was living in LA, it was really, really cool because I lived by so many places that had late night coffee shops. Baltimore, there are a few, and I'm not going to say them out loud because I don't want people to know where I'd be at. But I do not from like 6 or 7 until late, however much time I need to be on track for the day. I will say I'm a pretty organized writer. Like, I will plan out the week and like what, where I need to be each day in order to make a deadline.
That's cool. I feel like there was a couple of moments in the spoiler-free section that you wanted to say something. So are there any like things you're just like wanting to get out about this book?
I wanted to talk about the age-inappropriate relationship.
Okay.
Because even with early reviews that I totally don't read, even in early reviews, no one talks about the age-inappropriate relationship.
Okay.
And I don't know if maybe it's because that's too big of a spoiler to write in a review, but like people don't mention it. And I really want to know if that lands. Like, I hope it lands.
No, I think it's a nice twist. So I'm glad they haven't said anything, because like I said, it was not on my radar. I'm not thinking about it. There's 72 million other things going on, and then boom.
Yeah.
So
yeah, no, I think it was. Yeah, it hit for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess I'll ask about then the ex-boyfriend, the baby daddy. Anything about him that you want to say? Like, is there like, did he come from anybody? Any like inspiration? Like, where did he come from?
No, listen. I feel like I remember the times when I was just like down bad over a man who was not sugar honey iced tea, right? So I was like, how do I write the tea version of that?
Yes.
And like with my first book, I think Amina is so like, I don't think Amina would have tolerated some of the stuff that Truth tolerates. But I just wanted to write someone who's a little softer, who, is like, I really like this guy and he's like a couple years older than me and I feel so, like almost like lucky to be with him, but he doesn't even laugh at my jokes and tells me I'm not funny in front of his friends. Like, I do want to add that this isn't in the arc, but just like how like white people be having like honorary or like, like their one BIPOC black character. In the final version, I made her ex-boyfriend white.
Oh,
I was like, that's gonna be my cop out. The worst boy in the book is gonna be my boy.
That is different. No, I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I was like hoping and praying that she was gonna be smarter too, because I'm like, please don't go to his door. Like, I'm like, please stay. No, go on over there. Be done with him. Like, please.
She did eventually pick better. But yeah, I noticed in the arc there were no character descriptions of him, and I was like, I'm gonna make him my token white. My token white.
Yeah, he was. I did also really like the cafe owner. What was her name? I like that connection that they had, like that little tidbit that she gives her, and like letting her know, like, it's okay, like, and
Absolutely. And I'm not trying to like ruffle too many feathers because I feel like I'd be ruffling feathers sometimes, but and since this is the spoiler version, I did want to say something about the fact that, like, you know, there's a lot of shame that comes in, like, very conservative communities involving abortions, but conservatives love to get abortions in private. They really do. So I wanted to touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that was, I think it's great, like, that she could connect to somebody, and then, like, just also too, I feel like that's always like a thought, like, I mean, I've been pregnant twice, and all of those options always run through my head every time, because I was never married when I got pregnant, and so in each situation, and it's like seeing somebody like down the road though, like,
yeah,
how does life go on for that person? And I think that's really good to have, like, somebody there to connect to like that for truth, and let her know, like, life will go on and it'll be okay, and you might have these, like, sad moments, but it's okay.
Absolutely. And that was important for me too, because I was like, even it was important for me to show that, you know, like, she still thinks about it from time to time, like, right, occasionally, but she doesn't regret it, right? She doesn't feel like shame about it. When I was researching for this book, I came across a study called the Turnaway Project. And, you know, they studied, like, a bunch of women for this particular study, and they found that over 90% of the women who made the decision to have an abortion did not regret it. And so it was just really important for me to express that and show that, you know, like, it's not a decision that she regrets, right? For truth, particularly.
Yeah. I think that's very important, just for girls to read, and kind of like, even with Zariah, that's how you say it, right?
Yeah,
kind of like shaming her, but like the whole, like, the slam, like, group, like, all being supportive of her, like, that all was really great on that topic.
And one thing that I love about and y'all can tell me if we're nearing time, because I know I'm a yapper. I yap. That's why I love podcasts. Yeah. But one thing that I do love about the Slam group is they don't make it a big deal. Like, you know, like, they're sharing these stories that they have with each other, and they're such a great support system for each other. But there's never a point where they're like, oh my goodness, you had an abortion? What did it feel like? Like, you know, they don't do any of that. They are just like, oh, this is just a situation that like, even like when it's posted and it goes viral, like, you don't see them in her texts or messages like, oh my God, like, you know, like, you know, like, they're in the comments, they're hyping her up, and they're like, that's my girl, like, that's truth, you know what I mean? Like, they're in the comment section being like, that's my teammate. And I love that as well, because I think it also shows, like, you know, it's a decision that people make every day. Like, it doesn't have to be like this, you know, relationship altering thing like it was with Zariah.
Feels like, though the book is about, you know, a young girl who decided to have an abortion, it isn't about the abortion, but about the girl.
Yeah.
And I really like that. You know, she made these decisions, but the decisions don't define her. And I really like that.
Absolutely. And that was another reason why I was like, I'm so happy that, and then, like, why I decided to, you know, make it the way that I was and make it the way that I did with having the abortion. I think it happens, like, within the first, like, 25% of the book, but there's so much more. And, like, I think you still get a lot of commentary on, like, you know, the fact that it's a post Roe v. Wade society, and, like, you know, like all these tidbits. Like, I researched a lot for Truth Is, like, all these tidbits and, like, all this information about abortion, but, like, the book is really about Truth and her senior year, and, like, what it is to navigate, like, wanting a better life.
Yeah, I agree. I was like, I'm always like that in books. I'm always like, I hope this is not like a thing that gets harped on, and it wasn't. And I was like, good, we wrapped that up. Like, it's still there, but, like, we wrapped that one up, and we're, like, still going. Because, like, some books I'll read, and, like, that thing, and they'll just, like, harp on it, and I'm like, I don't want this to linger. Like, I was like, it happened, that's cool. But, like, so I was like, oh, good. Like, that, like, we're just getting started, and, like, we already took care of that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like, I do consider, I know, like, issue books get, like, a bad rep, but I do consider Truth an issue book, but the book isn't just about the issue.
No.
Like there's so much more to the book than just that plot line.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Well, I don't have any more questions. Keely, do you have any more questions?
I don't have any more.
So, Hannah. Oh, yeah. Do you have any?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Hope that folks pick it up. I'm super, super excited. I have some events coming up for Truth Is, and I'm waiting on like one thing to be able to share. I don't know when this will be posted, but if it'll be posted before those events go up, please join me.
This will be posted October 8th.
I don't have any plans after that for now.
Okay.
Oh no, but by the time this comes out, it'll be announced I'll be at Y'all Fest.
Oh.
So Y'all Fest, yeah.
Okay. Where can everyone find you? What are all of your socials and website and stuff?
Yes. Okay, my website is Hannah Sawyerr, Hannah, Hannah, and then Sawyerr with 2 R's, it's not a typo, .com. And then I have got to be honest, I have not been a social media girly lately. I've been living life. But I am on TikTok at Hannah Sawyerr, so just my name, 2 R's. And I'm on Instagram at Hannah Sawyerr. I gave up X, and I'm not really on Blue Sky or Threads like that. I will pop on Blue Sky and Threads once every like 6 months and be like, what's going on here? But that's it.
Okay.
Active on Instagram, I would say. That's probably my main social media.
I'll make sure to tag you in all the stuff too, so that people can find you. I'm gonna wrap up the episode, but we don't have to get off just yet. But I'm gonna wrap it, and then we can finish up talking. But thank you so much for talking to us. This was great. It was great for me to get to meet you, and Keely already knew you, but I really appreciate it.
It's so awesome getting to talk to y'all anytime. Please have me back.
We definitely will.
Yeah.